Brothers and sorors, the Vice President of the Supreme Council of AMORC, Brother Cecil A. Poole.
A great philosopher once said, "Man, know thyself." He tried to teach that man cannot attain complete knowledge and competence in life unless he first knows that which is to be the knower and the performer, that is, himself. Another philosopher said, "As a man thinketh, so he is." In a sense, these two injunctions are related, because the thinking of man is the center about which his behavior and his real being revolve. It is in this sense that the self is the center of the universe for man. We may select another center, but self is the center that is most important to each individual. If we examine the material universe in which we live, our modern concepts give it no center. The universe as a physical entity has expanded beyond the concept of man selecting a central point to be the place from which all other parts radiate. When man believed that the earth was the center of the universe, it gave him certain stature, and he believed great dignity. Religious men and philosophers, as well as scientists of the day, were opposed to accepting an idea that would in any way belittle this globe upon which we live, and at the same time remove man from his seemingly favorable central position. But the concept of any material thing having a center is only a convenience of measurement. Selecting a center of the material universe is not important, other than as we find it a means of identifying ourselves with our environment, just as we give a material entity a name. The whole of environment revolves about self. When man believed that the world was the center of the universe, he was in a sense only exaggerating this innate feeling that man had of his own self-importance. I am not here discussing an egotistical concept that man believes himself important merely to satisfy his own vanity, but rather I am considering man as a soul entity, as a segment of the divine force which motivates the entire universe. And as such, the centrality of all being is located within the sphere of our own thought. As we live today, and as we function in our day-to-day existence, we both consciously and unconsciously adjust all situations in relationship to that central point which is self, and which is of great importance in terms of our experience. Man's involvement is his highest obligation, for that is the purpose that this segment of life, which we designate as self, exists on this earth. The evolvement is a process, and because of its complexity and existence in time as we measure the duration of consciousness in terms of the physical lifespan, the origins and the eventual purpose or end of evolution are beyond our view. It is as if we journeyed through a valley, and we looked behind us to the hills from which we had come, and ahead to the hills over which we must climb. But the valleys that lie on each side are beyond our limit of perception. They are lost in memory or ahead in the future. But a higher being than we might perceive at one time the valley behind us, the one we now traverse, and the one ahead. Our perception would also be more extensive if we were in an airplane, where we would see at one time the valley behind, the valley in which the individual hesitated, and the valley ahead. And from that point of view, time would be no more. The meaning as to where we have come from and where we are going would take on a new point of view, and the past, present, and future would be fused into one concept. As living beings, we are walking, as it were, through the valley of life, that we might evolve ourselves to the point where we can gain the ability to realize fully the potency of the forces that are working within us, and attain realization of the soul personality, which will be the link that reunites us with the source from which we were created. To deny matter or attempt to minimize the effect of modern science is vain, for we cannot escape the imperative fact that the material universe exists and that men must deal with it. We all concern ourselves with this universe to a certain degree, and our ability to deal with it is one test of our degree of involvement. On the other hand, to deny soul, to deny the qualities of immaterial forces, although it may seem an easy way and even a modern thing to do, is even more vague. For the affirmation of spiritual values is an ever-present conclusion if we are awake to their presence. This affirmation comes in many ways, as it is revealed to us in beauty and love, and in the echoes of infinity that sometimes seem to reverberate in the chambers of our own being. Although much has changed in the world because of science and technology, politics and economics, the essential human situation as an individual soul remains unchanged. Man still has to struggle. There are problems to be confronted between the impulse to do something and the response that may come from a thing well done, or between the desire we have for achievement and the actual attainment or accomplishment. The shadows that seem to fall between our hopes and our actual attainment of these hopes cannot be chased away any easier in this modern age than they could have been in the time of prehistoric man. Even if we have benefited by science, even if we conquer space and circle the earth and move out into the universe, what does it profit us if we cannot banish fear and enjoy inner peace? Even if we cannot yet reconcile nations or forge enduring social harmony, we are still aware that we have moved ahead in many fields. In the field of science, effort is directed toward releasing great forces that will work for the benefit of man. These imprisoned forces are constantly being used, and they will continue to be used by experimentation. And how they will be directed will depend not upon the findings of science that can use the forces for construction or destruction, but upon the point of view of man as he directs his purposes towards those attainments which will work for his true salvation, which is the realization of his own soul and his own cosmic responsibility. To the student of occult sciences, of metaphysics and mysticism, there is a great field of bewildering facts that he attempts to reconcile with his own experience in connection with his thoughts about this complex world and the lives of others existing about him. The student frequently is not always sure what step he should take or the direction in which he should turn. To seek the fulfillment of life and the realization of self, man requires tools with which to do the work, just as a scientist needs tools to manipulate the material world with which he is concerned. These tools are equally as essential to us who are students of philosophy and mysticism as they are to those whose work is in the world of matter. The tools we need are offered by the philosophy of the Rosicrucian teaching. Here are provided the means by which man may fulfill his destiny. Like many things in nature, the tools are simple, and their importance is not only frequently overlooked, but their utilization is frequently misunderstood. Basic to the Rosicrucian teachings, insofar as they are applicable to the involvement of self, are concentration and meditation. We touch upon these subjects many times in our teachings and introduce them at an early point of our degree. But still there are students who advance into the higher degrees of the studies without fully realizing their importance and the fact that the whole scope of self-development, self-realization, the attainment of peace and contentment are locked in the proper utilization of these tools. We can never learn the technique of their use too well, because it is only when their use is so much a part of our consciousness that we unconsciously apply them that we have mastered the skill which will be the key to all we have hoped to attain. In concentration and meditation, we have available the method and procedure which we need to achieve our most desired end. They both may be complicated insofar as gaining a technique of perfect use is concerned, but even more so, they are frequently misunderstood, and in them we find that many do not realize the potentialities or the proper emphasis that can be placed on their use. By concentration, a man can scale the highest heights of genius, but he cannot cannot scale the cosmic heights of truth by concentration alone. To accomplish this, he must meditate and put himself into a harmonious relationship with divine truth. By concentration, man may acquire the comprehension and vast power of an earthly ruler. By meditation, he may reach the divine wisdom and perfect peace of a Buddha. The perfection of concentration is power. The perfection of meditation is wisdom. Both are needed. Both are important techniques which we must learn. By concentration, man may acquire skill for doing the things necessary to the process of living. Through concentration, man gains the ability to carry out those achievements which bring about accomplishments in science, art, and commerce. By meditation, man can acquire skill in life itself, in right living, in enlightenment, in wisdom. Saints, sages, and avatars, wise men and divine teachers, are the finished products of meditation. Meditation directed toward the expanding of consciousness until it includes the whole cosmic scheme.